Hello and welcome. I'm Sheron. I teach yoga here at Courtenay Recreation, and we're recording some yoga practices for you to work with at home. Today's practice is going to be a gentle version of a Hatha practice. You may or may not need props. I have some chip blocks and some dense blocks, a bolster, I have a blanket. You can decide for yourself, have a variety of things within reach so that you have them if you need them. We'll do only a short warm-up, so if there's anything in particular in your body that needs attention, support, then take care of those things before we begin. We'll start with a quick body scan and some breath work, so you can begin in any position that's seated or lying down. As you're getting yourself settled in, you want to check to feel that your body feels comfortable, supported, and stable. Once you have yourself in position, let's begin with a big breath in and then let it go with a sigh. Your eyes can be open or closed. Let's begin first by noticing your body from head to toe, fingertip to fingertip. What sort of sensations are currently present? What are you feeling in your bones, your joints, your muscles? What are you feeling in your organs and systems? Are there any particular parts that are calling out for TLC today or some extra attention? And what feels good? And then shift your focus to your breath. And let's begin by feeling the breath as it comes in and out of the nose. Cool inhales and warm exhales. Feeling the breath as it travels right down to the very base of the torso or right down into the belly. Feeling the lungs fill and empty. Starting to bring a slightly deeper breath. A deep breath, but not your deepest. One that feels like it feeds and supports and perhaps enlivens you, but one that doesn't distract or feel like you're really pushing to create. A breath that is felt in the belly and in the chest. It can have a direction if you feel that feels natural, or you can simply allow it to happen. And let's continue with this breath for maybe another 5 to 7 rounds. Let go of any unnecessary tension or holding. Connect with the flow of breath. Couple more deep breaths into the belly, into the chest. Let another breath in and let it go with a sigh. If you are lying down, take a moment to bring yourself up to seated. Find any comfortable seated position. We'll begin our warm-up with the upper body. Let's start off with shoulders, some easy circles. And reverse. And then let's repeat that with the hands and wrists, circling wrists, and allow the fingers to move as well so that the joints of the fingers and the thumbs are also getting a wake up here. And then up to the neck. Let's begin with turning the head gently from side to side. Let your jaw be relaxed. Let your eyes be soft. Last one. And side to side or ear to shoulder. Again, jaw relaxed. And last one, and then up and down, chin towards the chest, and then chin towards the sky. And last one. Shifting now to the whole spine, we'll repeat those three movements, beginning with a seated twist. One hand can support beside or behind, other onto opposite thigh or knee. Slowly turn, gently unwind, and then head over to the other side. And if you'd like to link breath and movement, you could exhale as you go into the twist and inhale as you come out. Last one. Side to side or lateral flexion. One hand supporting on the floor beside you, rounding over. Sense of lengthening, creating space in the spine as you go from side to side. With this one as well, you can add in the breath, and let's bring in a breath that accentuates the lengthening of the side body. So as I'm rounding over, I'm going to inhale and feel the breath moving into this spacious part of my torso. I can extend the arm as well, which will add to that lengthening or that feeling of spaciousness. And as I exhale, I'll bring myself up. So inhaling to lift up and over, and exhaling to come up. Last one. And then before we move into our spinal wave, let's bring some focus into the lower half of the body. And to do that, we'll sit with our legs extended forward. So shift your sitting position. Bring your legs forward. And we'll begin with moving the feet. Let's move the toes to begin. Wiggling the toes. If you are wearing socks, think about stretching out your socks. If you can see your toes, see if you can see space or light between the toes, curling the toes into balls and spreading them apart. And then moving into the rest of the joints of the feet and the ankles. And that could simply be coming into circles, or it can be any movement that allows that feeling of opening up and waking up the feet. And then let's move that into the hips with internal, external rotation, letting the legs roll in and out. And then one more hip opener, foot flat on the floor, one knee bent, and allow the bent leg to sway from side to side. And let's repeat that on the other side. Excellent. And then our final spinal movement is the spinal wave. And we can work with this seated or hands and knees. Any sitting position. It's an exhale as we round back, letting the gaze look towards the floor. And an inhale to round forward, looking up only as high as the neck says is comfortable. If you're working with this on hands and knees, it's called the cat-cow. You can be up on hands or even on fists or down on forearms. And we exhale as we arch up into the cat. And inhale as we round down into the cow. And last one here. And then from here, we're going to transition up to standing. So if you are still wearing socks, now is a good time to let them go. And I'm going to leave this as kind of open time for you. So if there's something in particular that your body would like to do on its way up to standing, you can do so. Maybe spending a few breaths in child's pose, coming up into downward dog, doing some other side bends. So take as many as perhaps 10 breaths to bring yourself up to standing. When you found your way to standing, pause for a moment in mountain pose. Have a sense that the feet are stable and secure on the floor. You can even look at your feet to see where they're positioned, how they're positioned. And then rising up. So a sense of structure down at our foundation, that rooting, and then of the lifting up towards the sky. Let's connect again with the breath that we worked with at the beginning part of our practice. Deep breath, but not your deepest. Breath felt in the belly and in the chest. And you can allow this breath to come into any or all of the poses as we're working with them today. But let's focus here in stillness, in mountain, for another 3 or 4 of these breaths. So we'll begin our standing practice with some arm raises. Inhaling, bringing the arms out to the side and up overhead. Exhaling, bringing them down. You can also work with inhale, bringing the arms forward and up, and exhale, bringing them down. You might mix and match the two. They might blend into one. So finding some movement with breath connected. Inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower. And last one. From here, bring your feet together so that they're touching. Big toe joints are touching and the heels are slightly apart. Make sure you don't feel too squished in. We're going to work with a variation of the crescent moon pose. So we'll bring the arms overhead and you're going to reach and grab hold of one wrist with the opposite hand. And the opposite hand is going to be the one that instigates length. So I'm going to reach up through that side of the body, root down into the floor, and then side bend. And I can feel almost as though I were pulling on that arm to help create some space. And then gently come back to center and switch sides. So instigating that length through the extended arm, rooting down through the opposite leg, and then softly side bending. Gently come out and let the arms release. Version number 2, we'll add in the hand clasp, and the hand clasp is interlacing the last 3 fingers with the index fingers pointing up, and then the thumbs gently touching each other. If this feels too crowded once you get your arms up here, or if it causes discomfort, come back to that first variation, or you can also work with the arms simply shoulder width apart. So let's interlace those last 3 fingers, index fingers pointing up, thumbs together, reach the arms up. So now both arms are instigating that or initiating that lift, rooting through both feet and then softly rounding to the side, lifting up and over. Strong breath here as well to support. As you come to center, belly might softly come in towards the spine. And then let's repeat that on the other side. Breath flowing. Belly softly in, exhale as you come up, and release the arms. If you need any movements in the arms, go ahead. I'm going to be stepping into a couple wide-legged poses now. First one is going to be goddess. So if your mat is short edge facing the computer or what you're watching, you might want to turn it sideways so that you can better see. We're going to step the feet wider than hip width. Your choice how wide that is. We'll work with a couple test runs first before we go into the full expression of the pose. We'll start by turning the feet slightly outwards, and I want you to imagine that there's a chair or a stool just slightly behind you that you're going to sit into. So I'm going to bend my hips, knees, and ankles and sit into that stool. I'm going to make sure that my feet are not falling inwards or my knees are not falling in, but my weight is fairly equal on inner and outer edges of my feet. So come in and out of that a couple times so that you can adjust your foot position. Try your feet closer together. See if that feels more stable. Try them wider apart. See if that feels more stable. And as you're doing this movement, the spine is neutral. I'm here up and standing, my spine is neutral. The thing that's really changing is what's happening in the big joints of the legs. So that's side one or part one of this pose, and part two is the arms. So the arms come out to the sides, the elbows are bent, and the palms are facing forward. So let's bring this together here. So we're going to come into our seat, knees softly moving away from each other, coming into a seat that feels comfortable for you, and then pause. And again, connect with that breath that we've been working with. Deep breath, but not your deepest. Let your jaw relax. Perhaps feeling some heat starting to gather in the body. And one more breath here. And then when you're ready, push the feet into the floor, reach the arms up to the sky. We're coming into 5-pointed star. So spreading the fingers apart, opening the heart. You can look up if that feels comfortable, radiating outwards in all directions. Still feeling very anchored through the feet, down into the earth. One more breath here. And then when you're ready, exhale, let the arms release. Lovely. Step out. If you need to, give anything a shake out. We're going to come back again into a wide-legged stance. This time for a wide-legged forward fold. We're coming into a soft, or let's call it a half version of the forward fold today. So again, wide, and whatever is wide for your body today. But this time the feet are closer to parallel or even toes slightly turned inward. For this one, the thing again, same thing. We want to make sure that we're not collapsing into the inner edges of the feet or letting the knees fall in. We also don't want to push really hard to the outer edges, but maybe leading towards that direction more than inward. So for this variation, we're going to bring our hands onto the hip creases here. We want the fold of this pose to come from this place here, the big hip joint. We're going to start by lifting our heart up, getting tall, and then leaning slightly back with the hips and the buttocks as a counter as the torso starts to come forward. Come to a place that allows your spine to still feel fairly close to neutral, and pause there. So again, we're off center. Legs are probably working quite hard. You might even feel the core starting to come in here. Make sure your jaw isn't doing this pose for you. So you can stay here. I'll give you some other options. You can continue to fold forward. You can slide your hands down your legs as a support. If you can reach the ground, you can also bring your hands onto the floor or fingertips. Or if you have a block handy, you can bring your hands onto a block. Pause here for 2 more breaths. So at this point now, wherever you are, you're going to bend your knees. So whether your hands are on the floor or on your hips, bend your knees. If your hands are on the floor, bring them up onto the thighs. If your hands are at the hips, bring them down roughly to the centers of the thighs. We're going to start by pushing the hands into the thigh muscles as we lift ourselves up. And when you come all the way up, toe heel your feet together. And then toe heel your feet back apart. Good, and then one more time, bring the feet back together. And return to mountain pose. Pause here for a moment. Connect with your breath. Eyes open or closed. We're going to add some balance into this practice today. We're going to work with tree pose. You can work with the support of a wall or a chair. I'm just going to step off screen for a moment and grab myself a chair so I can work with that. If you're working with a chair or a wall, you'll want to have yourself set up so that your balance side, or the side that's supporting you, is beside the wall or the chair. So for instance, here's a tree. And if you're working without support, also be mindful of the surface that you're on. If you have carpet or a thick mat, that will add challenge. So you might want to step onto a bare floor area. We're going to begin in our mountain pose, feeling that sense of stability and noticing how we are balancing here on 2 feet. There are a lot of variations of tree pose. If you have a favorite, please feel free to work with that one. I'll talk through a few different variations and you can choose from there. So if you're working with a chair or a wall, use that as support. So we'll begin by leaning into or letting the weight be carried by the foot and leg beside our support. The other foot, we're going to turn the leg out and bring the ball of the foot onto the floor with the heel lifted. We can then, from there, step the feet together so that the heel and ankle are making contact, but the toes are still on the floor. If you're working without wall support, you can bring hands to heart center, out to the side, up to the sky, anywhere that feels comfortable. If you're doing one hand for support, you could always bring one hand onto the heart or one hand out to the side. So if you'd like to add a level of difficulty or challenge to this pose, the next step here is to step the foot up to the inner calf muscle, or you can also bring the foot up to the inner thigh. Let your gaze rest on one point. So rather than perhaps looking at me on your computer screen, maybe find a spot just above that, something that can help to steady your gaze and therefore steady your body. Breathe smoothly. But if you can, slowly come out. Shake out if you need to. If you were using a chair, you can move that over to the other side or adjust your position. Starting off again in mountain pose, and then shifting weight. Connect with that sense of rooting into the earth and rising up, feeling spacious. If you're using a support, go ahead and grab hold. Leg turns out, heel lifts, heel makes contact with the ankle. In whichever variation you're working, foot steps up to the inner calf or perhaps to the inner thigh. Connect with your breath. Relax your jaw. Maybe even smile a little. When you're ready to come out, see if you can come out slowly and shake out if you need to. All right, so come back again to mountain pose. Pause there for a moment. We have one more standing pose before we come down to the floor. We're going to work with the upper half of the body for eagle pose, so into some arm movements. A few variations of the eagle arms, and I'll talk you through those again. If you have a favorite version, feel free to work with that. So we're going to begin by bringing the arms in front of us, elbows bent, and we'll do a little warm-up first. So we're going to begin by bringing the forearms towards each other. Think more about bringing the elbows towards each other and less about bringing the wrists. So we don't want to make a triangle shape. We want to try to keep the arms roughly parallel. This is just activating the upper back and the shoulders. They don't have to touch. Come to wherever you reach. Pause there for a moment. And then let the arms open out to the side. And then let's repeat that. Bring the arms forward. Pause. Good, and release. This time when the arms come out to the side, extend them out to the sides and rotate the arms in and out or up and down. So here's where we come into some variations. So option one, bring one arm forward with the fingertips pointing up. Bring the outside of the other hand onto the outside of the elbow. So this is a nice variation if crossing the elbows is uncomfortable. Another variation here then is to cross the elbows. If the elbows can hook into each other, we bend the elbows, lift the hands up, and the palms turn away from each other. And again, rather than trying to get the fingers or the wrist towards each other, think more about bringing the forearms towards each other. Doesn't matter if your hands reach. For those of you that know the hook, the bottom hand fingers grab onto the base of the thumb. But you don't have to get there in order to receive the benefits of this pose. One more breath here. Gently release. Let the arms stretch out to the side. That same movement we just did, rolling the arms in and out. And then let's repeat that on the other side. So outside of hand to the outside of the elbow. Less about getting the fingertips towards each other, more about folding the forearms towards each other. And if you can create that hook, the bottom hand fingers wrap to the inside of the thumb. Jaw relaxed. Gently release the arms. One more time out to the side. Roll the arms in and out. And then let everything have either a shake out or maybe come into some palm tree. Any other freeing and loosening movements here in standing before we head back down to the floor. So we're coming back down to the floor for seated, and we're going to work with a seated twist, and you may or may not want to sit up on something. I'll start off with a block. So we're going to begin by having one leg stretched out in front of us and the other knee bent with the foot on the floor. The extended leg will be softly focused, let's say. Not so hard engaged that the heel is popping up off the floor, but some life in that leg. So the variation that we're going to work with today is focusing on the twist towards the bent knee. So the bent knee arm is going to come behind as the support, and you can already feel that twist coming in. This other hand is going to rest on the knee, or when you get deeper into the twist, you might wrap the forearm or the elbow around the knee. So long through the leg, reaching up through the spine, gently coming into the twist. We're going to pause here and focus our breath onto the back body. Feeling the back ribs expand and recede. One more breath here. Nice and slow, unwind, and we switch sides. Leg is straight. Again, there's a little bit of life in that leg. Not so much that the heel is popping up off the floor. Start off with opposite hand onto the bent knee, the other hand beside or behind, and then move into your twist. Spacious through the torso, either holding onto the knee with the hand, or you can also hook the inner forearm or the elbow around the knee. When you get into the twist, pause and breathe with a focus of breath into your back body. Gently unwinding, coming forward. From here, we're going to work with some opening into the backs of the legs. Again, you can be sitting up on something or not. We're coming into a half wide legged position. So one leg stretched out to the side, your choice what that angle looks like as well, and the other knee bent with the foot in towards the inner thigh. The bent knee, if you need it, can have some support underneath it. We're going to begin first by gently folding ourselves forward. So think middle. Hands are softly resting on the floor and the body gently comes forward without pushing or pulling. Gently come up. Turn towards your straight leg. So here comes a little twist and softly fold forward. So when you're folding forward, think about reaching with the chest and the belly rather than reaching with the forehead or with the arms. So keep the chest open. You can add a soft round into the spine after you've reached your edge in the fold. And hands are somewhere that just creates an anchoring or some support. And gently come up. And then let's repeat that on the other side. Leg extends, knee bends, add some height or support under the knee if you need it. We begin with middle or forward. Reaching with the chest and the belly, letting the hands lightly support you. Soften your throat. Relax your jaw. Connecting with flow of breath. Gently come up, turning towards the straight leg. So again, a little or maybe a lot of a twist. Begin with reaching forward with the chest and the belly, and then adding a soft fold. Not pushing or forcing. And again, find a place for the hands where they offer just the right amount of support and space for the chest. Gently come up. Let the legs come forward and give them a shake out. All right, so last pose before relaxation. We'll come into the Lotus Prep. So for those of you that have been coming to my classes, you'll be familiar with this. We're going to work with the basic variation today only. If you know some of the other variations and you'd like to play with them, then please do. So we're going to be coming onto our chest and belly. Now, ideally we want to have the forehead on the floor when we're in our rest part of the pose. If you're feeling like that's hard to breathe, or if the nose is getting squished, you might want to bring your forehead onto a block. So I'll start here on chest and belly, get myself set up. I'm going to bring my arms beside me, so the hands are down by the hips, and wiggle my legs softly back so that I feel like I can get more of the fronts of my thighs onto the floor. So this is less about how high you are lifting and more about connecting with the muscles along the spine. So this is about let's call it a spinal strengthener. So our foundation in this pose, tops of the feet, fronts of the thighs, and the pubic bone gently press into the floor. Tops of the hands lightly press into the floor as well, but not so much that it feels like the shoulders are being forced down. We still want to have open chest, open heart here. So I'm going to root down through my foundation point and lift up without sending the chin forward. So I want to keep the neck neutral. I'll pause, lift, pause in the lift, and then slowly lower back down and surrender completely. Maybe even letting a breath in and letting it go with a sigh. You can turn your head to the side if you like as well during the pause. So let's repeat that. Tops of the feet press into the floor. Fronts of the thighs, pubic bone, lightly through the tops of the hands. Upper body lifts, coming into this strengthening back bend. And then slowly lowering back down. And when your forehead touches down, let everything surrender. And let's do that one more time. Tops of the feet, fronts of the thighs, pubic bone, tops of the hands. Upper body lifts. Gently releasing back down. This time, if you like, change your position. So maybe bringing the block underneath the forehead or bringing the arms forward to make a pillow with your hands. Start by letting your hips sway or wiggle from side to side. And then pause and breathe down into your belly.
Deep, expansive inhales and exhales. Windshield wiper pose, so lifting the feet up off the floor and allow the legs to sway from left to right. From here, we'll come into a quick counter pose. You can come up into child's pose or even onto your back with knees into the chest. When you're making this transition, move with your breath. Turn it into a yoga pose in the sense that you are paying attention to how you're moving and you're staying connected with the breath. When you come into your counter pose of choice, settle in, connect with your breath. Before we come into relaxation, we'll close with one restorative pose. We'll work with heart bed. So if you don't have a bolster, you can use a folded blanket or a rolled up towel or even a bed pillow. If you would like as well, you might want to have some height to put under the buttocks. If you think you might cool down, now might be a time as well to put layers back on. And if you want to extend your practice, this might be the perfect opportunity to press pause and add in a few more poses before relaxation. So heart bed has the option of having a back bend within it. You begin with the bolster behind you, a little bit of space between you and the bolster. Once I get onto the bolster, I like to do a couple hip lifts, and that's just to let my low back feel spacious and kind of decompress. And then I'll decide if this feels comfortable here with buttocks on the floor. And if it doesn't, I can add some extra height with a pillow or a block or a folded blanket. The chest opening aspect is bringing the arms out to the sides to T position, palms up. If this is too much, bring the arms closer in. Or if you have some props of some sort, you can also bring them underneath the forearms. So bring the floor closer to the arms. You can have your knees bent with the feet on the floor. If you like cobbler's pose, you can also bring that in. Soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. Or you can extend your legs out onto the floor. So once you've found a comfortable position for your body, let a breath in and let it go with a sigh. Again, eyes can be open or closed here. Relax your jaw. Relax the palms of the hands. Let go of any unnecessary tension or holding. Perhaps direct the breath down into the belly. Inhale, belly rises, and exhale, belly falls. If you need to come out of this pose early, please do. Otherwise, we'll be here for about another minute and a half or two. Let the eyes sink into the sockets. Let the body fully receive the support of the props, the floor beneath it.
Receive a big breath. Let it go with a sigh. When you're coming out of this pose, be mindful of neck, low back. If it's comfortable to do so, roll off the side. If you need to lift the head directly up off the bolster, perhaps bring one hand underneath to support. If there's anything else that your body needs or wants to do before coming into relaxation, let that happen. If you think you might cool down, grab some layers, put socks back on, maybe grab yourself a blanket, sweater. For Shavasana, traditionally it's done lying on the back, but you can also lie on the side if being on your back is not comfortable. You can use a bolster or again some sort of pillow underneath the knees to support not only the legs but the low back. You can use height under your head. And I'll invite you here as well, if you are wearing glasses, take your glasses off and let the skin and the face relax fully. We're going to do a slightly different version of the relax piece of the practice today. So let's begin first, once you get comfortable, letting one of those delightful breaths in and let it go with a sigh. We're going to flex and relax. So we're going to begin by clenching everything inward. So bringing hands into fists, curling the toes under, pushing the low back softly into the floor, squishing the eyes together, puckering the lips, pulling the belly into the spine, and hold and hold and hold, and then let it go. And then stretch everything outwards. Stretch your fingers apart, spread your toes apart, maybe even stretch your arms out to the sides, lift your belly up towards the sky. You can open your eyes if you like, stick your tongue out, and hold and hold and hold, and relax. Make any adjustments to your position and get comfortable. Feel your whole body settling to the ground. Let your eyes close here. Feel gravity doing its job, helping you to connect with the floor. Soften around your eyes, the inside of your mouth. Let the brain settle in the skull. Relax your throat, your arms and your hands. Relax your upper back, middle back, and low back. Relax your chest and your belly. Relax your hips, your legs, including knees, feet, and toes. Let your whole body relax. Let go of doing. I'll leave you here in silence for a few minutes, and then I'll bring you back. In the meantime, in that silence, give in to this relaxation. Let your body receive the benefits of this practice. Relax your whole body. allow a deep breath to enter your body. Let it go again with a sigh. Invite in any movement that feels just right for this moment. Wiggling fingers and toes to big stretches or twists or curls. When that movement feels complete, find your way once again to a comfortable sitting position, whatever that looks like for you. In yoga, the center of the chest, the space behind the sternum, is the symbolic heart or heart center. If you'd like to join in, let your hands come to heart center, perhaps bringing some heat into them first. Let one hand come onto the center of the chest and the other on top. Pause here for a moment, again with eyes open or closed, and thank yourself for being here today, for giving yourself this gift of practice. Perhaps sending a thank you outwards as well to anyone or even anything that helped you to be right here, right now. And thank you for sharing this time with me. Have a lovely day or evening, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.